don't need me to tell you that at this time in the human story there is a movement in the consciousness, a want for change, for rebellion, and it's happened over and over throughout the ages, but it seems the vast majority have no idea where to start that, where to rebel. And there is a rebellion, and it's happening. And as many should join it as possible, but not many will. And that rebellion involves that energy that transforms a human that we have pointed at with the word Christ. And it involves that energy which has stopped humanity from that transformation and chained humanity to the world, as it were. We have pointed at with the term Satan. Those forces that move inside the world unseen, we've pointed at with the fallen ones. The matrix, the structures that have kept us enslaved to the world, we have pointed at with the term matrix. And above all, it involves you and I. The vast majority of humans, when they want to rebel, will try to rebel against the structures of the matrix. Because they're not subtle, they're in your face, they're apparent. You see them. And so you want to rebel against the structures. You'll take to the streets, protest, so on and so forth. But the true rebellion, the rebellion of Christ that changes all things, is a rebellion against the technology inside the human body that built those structures. The technology inside the human body that gave way for those structures. The technology inside the human body that made us vulnerable to the fallen ones, to other dimensional forces, to build those structures. The technology in us that built the matrix, for whatever influence was doing so, that is the rebellion that changes everything. For you can take out as many corrupt structures as you like. The fuel to rebuild them is still existing inside every human, because we didn't rebel against that fuel. We didn't rebel against the technology in us that builds these corrupt systems, that allows for these wars that make no sense. That's the rebellion. And so how do you do that? What is that rebellion? What does it look like? The human organism that we are has a capacity that many aren't aware of. We have a supernatural ability. And I feel this can be pointed at thanks to our history with a fallen DNA and a christic DNA. The oldest creation story on planet Earth says that humans were living as we were in the Garden of Eden. We were connected to God, we knew God's voice. And that another force came who was opposed to surrendering to God's voice and wanted to supersede the creation field. This is the creation field the generous heart of God pours out with infinite potential, gives life. And so those of us who respect that gift want to surrender to it. But there are those who say, no, I want to supersede it, I want to be it. And those are the fallen ones in the Bible. They hacked our DNA, separated us from the voice of God and left us vulnerable, and so we looked to this higher intelligence force of creator gods. And that's what the Sumerian creation story, the first civilization we are truly aware of on the planet, says is the origin of our human species. The sons of Adam were fallen. Yeshua was the last son of Adam, the human who came with the new upgraded DNA, the opportunity represented there for humans to have the new DNA, to walk in the presence of God, back in the supernatural power they had before they fell. The human organisms that live today have a choice. They can move into the christic DNA and awaken it, or they can stay with the fallen. The rebellion against the technology inside us could be said to begin with by giving your life over to Yeshua, to what Yeshua suggested. Now, Yeshua and what Yeshua taught is not what the Abrahamic faiths have necessarily presented. Yeshua in his tongue in Aramaic said he is a follower of the way. That is the way we should go. We should follow the way Jesus went. Other humans who came after him, whoever they are, had their own interpretations, their own carnality. Yeshua had a way he was a follower of. I say we follow that way. And in following that way, you spend time overcoming the technology within. It's part of the way. Overcoming the technology that makes you vulnerable to building the matrix or to the temptations of the matrix, and therefore keeps you chained to the world, to the fallen DNA. The fallen DNA makes you perceive as the 3D matrix alone, this 3D matrix identity. No supernatural, as that identity would call it, capacity. The christic DNA, when it is awoken in the human, when you begin to untangle the low vibratory behaviors that the fallen self has had you chained to in the world, then you start to develop new attributes. You hear the voice of God. You hear the direction of God. Not as a concept, but as an actuality in your life. Actual communication with a higher force that guides you into compassionate right action in the world. The rebellion is against the technology. To awaken that christic DNA within us, we must see through the technology. You can push against the structures, the government, etc. all you want, but they will return if those technologies are not rebelled against inside us. And so how do you truly start to rebel? Well, the home of all of the problems of humanity are inside a certain element of the mind. And that is an identification with the fallen DNA and its perceptions of the matrix. This is where all of our sin, all of our world worship, all of our lies, corruption, it all lives there. And so how do we overcome the technologies that have structured inside of us a certain self-image? And that self-image largely does not want to surrender. It does not want to let go of itself. It wants to control. It wants to be the knower of knowledge. It wants to sit in the throne in your life where the voice of God should be sitting. How? How do we take this away? Because when this program is running of a self-image, this is where we are vulnerable to higher dimensional forces. This is where we are vulnerable to our selfish ambitions and our selfish ways. This is where we refuse to let God take over and want to control everything. And even those who search for God, that part of the technology will create an image of a searcher for God. And as that technology does that, you don't recognize that because that program is running inside the human of an image of I am searching for God, that image of a program of you searching for God as an identity is sitting in the seat where God wants to be. Because the image is present of a seeker is why you don't find. And so that technology must be silenced somehow. And the simple way to do it is to ask who you are. Who are you? You may say, well, I'm John. No, that's a name. You can't be a name. This is a label, it points. So who are you? You may say, I'm an Englishman. No, this is a nationality. And this points, and nationalities can change, so that can't be who you are. You may say, well, then I am an accountant, a builder, a bus driver. You say, no, these are tasks that you are doing. These are roles that you are playing. But it can't be who you are, because you can change that role. You say, I'm a human. When you say you are a human, you are saying that you are a word that has pointed at, that humanity has created, pointed at this shape that speaks and moves around that we know ourselves to be. But this is not who you are. You may say, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a daughter. These are labels. This is not who you are. If you are aware that you are a mother or a father or a son or a daughter, if you are aware that you are a human, if you are aware that you have a name like John, if you are aware that you've had a nationality assigned to you inside the human story, if you are aware of those things can't be who you are. You are the one who is aware of them. So ask yourself, who is the one that is aware of these things? And you may say, well, wait, I'm a Christian. You're aware that you're a Christian. Who is the one that is aware? Who is aware? Now you can go further at that awareness, because you are clearly aware that you're a name and that you're a human, that you're... So can you be aware of that awareness? Can you be aware of the awareness? Can you be that? Do you notice anything happening? Because what you're doing is you're going backwards through the programs that you have taken the soul awareness you are, the loving witness that you are, the loving awareness that you are, and these programs that the technology inside of you has taken that awareness and made into structures to function. You're going back through them, and you're going all the way back to your aware state. And in that aware state, you'll find a certain spaciousness opening up, a certain silence opening up. And it is there where I hear the voice of God. It is there where this human speaking, this awareness in this shape of human talking, that you may call John, it is there where I, in my memories, untangled all of the addictive patterns that were in my beta frequency. Those patterns are that which allowed humanity to build the satanic matrix, allowed this human to be heavily influenced by the fallen ones and their suggestiveness of temptation in the world, which takes your soul essence, that awareness, and feeds it into a state of separation, into the 3D matrix, into the world. And you become enslaved to it. You become enslaved as that soul energy to pleasure in whatever, pornography, drugs, whatever it may be. You become enslaved to that. And as you feed that energy in to world worship, this pure soul, eternal essence that you are, you feed into the matrix of Satan and into the energy needs of the fallen ones. The demonic realm is not just there for fun. It is there to extract energy. And it's very important you know that, because many will feel they can escape the matrix, but if you try to escape the matrix, the financial system, by enslaving other humans to the world, you have to realize which master you're serving to do that. That master doesn't mind if you get some financial abundance to escape the matrix, because you've just fed it a load of energy that it wouldn't have had if you hadn't set that, whatever you have, up. Go back to the awareness. Are you aware that you're a name? You're aware that you're a human. Who is that awareness? What is that awareness? Are you aware of that awareness? In which case, what is that? And when you move into that, you'll start to liberate yourself from the technologies that have built the satanic matrix, from the arrogance of the self-image, which has chained us to the world and chained ourselves to the world. The franticness of the self-image, which is broken in its addictions and has no slowness, no stillness to separate from it. So the impulse rises in the flesh and it jumps on the impulse. Whereas if you become aware even of your name, of your relationships, and you acknowledge who is that awareness that's aware of these things, when you do that, there's such a expansion inside you that as the impulse comes, it's as if it comes in slow motion. And the impulse to lead you to the satanic to the world, to worship the flesh, to worship the fallen state, it comes and you see it almost like slow motion. And this is akin, perhaps, how the movie writers were trying to portray with the Matrix, I don't know. But it's true, your thoughts come, your impulses come, and they are slow. Because you are now in the state of pure awareness. You are the loving witness of the world. And that is what humans, I argue, were before we fell. Before the fallen ones put that genetic interference within us. And so if you're going to rebel against the technology inside you that built the Matrix, that left us vulnerable to build the Matrix, that left us enslaved to the Matrix, rebel against that, and rebel today. Start today. Join the ranks. Because it's the true rebellion, and it is the way. It's the way Yeshua spoke of. And the end result is that you will walk in the Christ. The compassion of Christ will be with you. And if you give your life to Jesus, know that if you have done that it's more than a set of rules. It's a promise of that new DNA being activated. Because when you spend time, first of all, being aware, you dismantle the self-image within you that the world has given you, that the Matrix has given you. You also dismantle the rules that character has. And what you'll find is that the Christ will be waiting to ignite the cells and the intelligence of your body, and new attributes will arise inside the organism. New abilities, new perceptions, new capacities. For you have swapped out the old DNA for the new, for the christic DNA. But you can't get to that birthplace of your supernatural capacity, which is the spiritual rebirth Christ asked of us. You see, the end goal of this rebellion is to awaken the christic DNA, the supernatural capacities of men and women. This is the goal. So you become aware. You're aware that you're a name. You're aware you're human. You investigate who is aware. Who is that awareness? Who is aware of that awareness? And in doing that, you take away the technology, and the rigid self-image is cracked, and you start to see through it. And when that happens, an emptying happens. And when the emptying happens, there you can begin to feel the energy rising that's love. It's compassion, it's christic. It comes to you. The longer you live without that self-image, the way it works is the conscience, it seems, of the Holy Spirit, that which is holy and pure. A new conscience arises with you. And so that which would chain you to the world becomes a little bit repulsive to you. You're put off by it all of a sudden. And this is the conscience changing, it's moving. The Holy Spirit, as a Christian would say, moving in the organism. When you do that, you enter a space, a vibration, a frequency of purity. Because now all of a sudden, that which is worshipping the 3D matrix, the satanic matrix, that which is harming your fellow man, that which is not your highest good, it becomes a little bit off-putting. And so you spend more time in the generous outpouring of God's love. You spend more time in the Christic attributes, and that alters your frequency to something of purity. And it seems, to this human speaking, that the longer you spend in that frequency of purity, the more of the Christic DNA you activate, and the more capacities you have, which are supernatural, occur. The majority of Christians think spiritual rebirth is a set of rules. It's not. It's a promise of a supernatural Christic DNA. It's a promise of a supernatural life, if you don't get with the DNA concept. It's a promise of a supernatural life. Not through any effort of your own, but because Yeshua represented the new man that came with that access to this new DNA. And when you elevate that frequency, it only elevates to that degree when you recognize that awareness experience that I mentioned. And there, it is the Spirit of God, the presence of God working through you, that is any goodness that occurs, that is any power that occurs. And in that frequency of purity, the fallen ones have a problem, because they can't attach to you, and they can't attach to those around you, and you can purify them. If every human were to light that up, how can they move in this world? What can they tempt us with? What structures could they lead us to build to enslave one another? They couldn't. Because we will have rebelled against the technology of this human meat suit that we are in as souls. And by rebelling against that technology, we rebel against that which is vulnerable to the matrix, building the matrix, and serving the matrix. God gave way for all things here. Give thanks. But in that infinite potential, some developed arrogance and said, no, I want to be God. Through technological advancement, technology that you can't even comprehend. I have seen things in outer bodies experiences, and I've also seen things in this world now that defy all known science. And I've made that no secret. But you can't combat that unless you put nothing between yourself and God and awaken that power. The Essenes refused to have anything. No men in robes telling you what is godly and what is not. I am holy and you are not. They rejected it. Yeshua was an Essene, a follower of the way. They put as a rule nothing between them and God. I should not be between you and God. Your pastor, your preacher should not be between you and God. You and God should be united by your awareness going within, by you acknowledging that you are not this character that's chained to the world, by becoming aware of that you're aware that you're a name, you're aware that you're an addict, you're aware that you're a husband, you're aware that you're a wife, you're aware that you're a mother, etc. By becoming aware that you are these things, you question who is aware. There you will open the space to go in and unite with God and have the awakening, which is the untangling, the deprogramming of the fallen self, the fallen DNA, the slave self. How I perceive it. But the fact of this video remains. A true rebellion is against the technology inside humans that built the matrix, not against the structures we already built. That's the fact. It's an important fact. The awesome news is that means it starts now, today, with you. You can join the rebellion by facing off with the technology inside you that built the matrix inside of the humans, that has you addicted to the matrix, perhaps. I think I leave it there anyway. God bless, guys. Be well. I just want to take a brief moment of your time to share with you about an exciting project we have going with the charity until the end of the year. The project's name is 2000 Strong. It has gotten off to a great start, and we thank those already involved. For those not involved, please stick around and hear why we are making this happen in the human story at this time. I'm going to give you an example of why our community is needed, why this solution is needed, and why 2000 Strong must manifest. This is Kelly. Kelly now lives safely in our community, in our village, in our family. However, when Kelly was found, her story was very different. Kelly had been starved to the point of near death. She had been burned and tortured by her father. This happened because in a society with very little education, in a society where superstition still surrounds things like disability, her father believed that her cerebral palsy was a demon and that he should fast this demon out of his daughter, that he should burn this demon out of his daughter. And of course, cerebral palsy is not a demon. It's a medical condition that needs to be cared for and nurtured, as we do at our children's village. Kelly now lives a good life. She's happy, she's full of joy, as it should have been all along. But Kelly is also one of the lucky ones, because there are a great many children out there who are still waiting to be found. 2000 Strong is a project to try and find 2,000 volunteers to fundraise a minimum of $100 each between now and New Year's Day. We say a minimum because if you go over, it may help. If we only get 1,000 volunteers or we fall short of 2,000, it's all welcome towards the goal. That money will be used to build stage 1 of a new village for special needs children in crisis, a village located a 10-hour drive away from our current location. When that village is done, it'll provide a whole solution for over 500 special needs children who are living in circumstances like this. At this time, I don't know of anyone else fighting for those children, and I can't do this without the resources I need. For whatever reason, you can hear my voice, and so I'm putting this out as a call to arms to help me to manifest this solution which is needed in our human story, as these children do not deserve to remain in the dark any longer. They need a safe, loving family home. 2000 Strong helps us to build stage 1 of that safe, loving family home and a permanent solution for the country of Tanzania forever. If you're interested, please visit www.sharetanzania.com/2000 Strong for more info, or you can reach out on any of our social media channels. Thank you for the love and support, guys. The work we do, the family we have, would not be possible without you.